back at it with another episode of Nick versus Everyone. And today we have the very first solo podcast. We just got done watching me and Rachel just got done watching the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to not only talk about that, but my love for fighting and boxing. Anybody that knows me, they know that I don't miss any big boxing matches. I don't miss any UFC fights or anything like that. And so I'm a huge, huge fight fan, and I have been, ever since, probably ever since elementary school. Every Friday night, not every Friday night, but most Friday nights, they have this thing called Friday Night Fights on ESPN. And I just remember watching that a lot as a kid, watching good fights, things like that. And also sometimes I have like very fuzzy memories of like watching like Mike Tyson back in the day when I was very, very, very little, I think. So I've always been super interested in fighting. I think in 5th or 6th grade maybe I had my very first, like one of my first ever whatchamacallit, book report? Yeah. Very first book report was about Muhammad Ali. We went to the library. We tried to find a book that we could write about, and I chose Muhammad Ali. I forget what the book was called, but I do remember it was about Muhammad Ali, and that kind of started my fandom of Muhammad Ali. Obviously, I have the poster right behind me for the people watching on the video. I also have a Thrilla Manila shirt on right now, and I have a bunch of different Ali gear. So everything from that point on, Muhammad Ali has always been someone that I've always looked up to. He was a extremely confident person. He liked to talk crap, and I took a lot of things from him when it comes to talking crap and being loud and confident and all those good things. So anybody that's known me growing up and things like that, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Telling people I'm pretty, telling people how great I am, and that all came from Muhammad Ali. And I kind of, ever since I was in like 5th grade, have been a huge fan of Muhammad Ali. And I've read multiple books at this point now. I've gone back on YouTube and watched old fights, and so he's probably my number one on my Mount Rushmore of people. Is number one Muhammad Ali, not only for all the things they did in the boxing ring, the heart that he showed, the skill, being super young and being really great, and people doubting him and talking the talk and backing it up. The stand that he took to not go to the war, and basically was willing to give up everything for the things that he believed in. And at the end of the day, he ended up being right when everybody was saying he was being wrong. And then after his career, he became a great human to society, doing many great things for many, many people around the world. So he became much bigger than boxing and became more than just a boxer. Became a great human. So I think that, he's number one definitely on my Mount Rushmore. And I remember early on in elementary school, I used to draw a lot, and this sounds really, really weird now. If I was a teacher and I saw this, I would think that something was extremely wrong. So I was also like a big fan of like boxing video games as well. So that's like Mike Tyson, like Nintendo. At my grandma's house, I'd play that when I was young. They also came out with like PlayStation games, like boxing PlayStation games, that I would play, and in those games, like the guys would get really beat up, they get bruises, swelling, cuts, all that good stuff, and so like in I think it was elementary school, I would like draw fighters after like a fight, and so I would draw their faces first, and then I would go back and like add like a swollen eye or like a stitched up cut or something, like a dude that's like super beat up or whatever. And that's what I liked to do in elementary school, which if I was the teacher and I saw that, I would think that something was super, super wrong. So my fascination with that like warrior spirit was always super fascinating to me for some reason. I think that like when you totally dedicate yourself to something and are super disciplined, and like you go and it's just you and this other person, you go into the ring or whatever it may be, and you just show who's the best. And it's like there's no excuses, there's no nothing, there's no this, it's just you and this other person, who's better. And I always loved the strategy of it. It's not so much like the bravado, the I'm gonna beat you up stuff. It's always the strategy, the skill, the mind games at play. There's so much that goes into fighting, outside of just the physical, that makes it so appealing to me. And there's no other sport out there that if I'm watching the game, unless it's like Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but consistently, every single time I watch a big fight, my heart's racing. I have a bunch of adrenaline in me, all that good stuff, and so I just can't get enough. In fact, when I lived up in North Dakota, I was such still I was up in North Dakota. I was working in a physical therapy department. It was just like a normal, 8-hour a day shift. Not a whole lot of responsibilities. I was just trying to get hours to potentially go to physical therapy school. You need a certain amount of hours, patient care time, whatever. And so I was in there, and outside of work, I wanted to get into something. The basketball scene wasn't that great there. I didn't really have a gym that I liked going to and playing basketball at up there. And so I ended up looking for a boxing gym. And I found one. And it was super cold. It was the winter in Fargo. I remember giving the place a call while I was at work, and they gave me like a free tryout or whatever. Free try it out for a day. And, back in the day, like when me and Nate were really, really little, we'd actually spar a little bit during those Friday night fights episodes, like in between rounds, like 1 minute or something like that. And Nate would always beat me up, pretty much. Never bad. But so I had a little bit of experience, but not much. We were so little that you can't really hurt anybody at that point. But, I at that point, I watched so much boxing. I kind of knew what to do. I knew what I was doing. I was pretty athletic just from my sports background. And so I just went in there trying to just get in shape, really, and learn the sport. And so I went in there for the first time. I was a little anxious, and we just did a bunch of bag work, heavy bag work, where we just punched the punching bag, and I was like just going all out every single round or whatever. It was like so in a boxing class, let's say you have 1 to 3 minute rounds maybe, and like, all right, this round we're gonna do 1-2s, so that's a jab and a cross, and the other one is just like work the bag, meaning you just fight the punching bag, as if you're fighting someone else, so you just go at it. So for that whole minute or whatever it was, I was like spazzing out on the bag, just trying to the coach and stuff was looking at me, and he at first he was like just shadow boxing, like I was way more advanced than like the newest person just coming into a gym. So at the end of that training session, I could not lift my shoulders. I remember like taking a shower afterwards, and I did not pace myself whatsoever at any time. I was just going like 0 to 100 as fast as I can, as a rookie would. And I just remember being so tired. So I ended up going back after that trial, and got a little membership there. I think it was like 2 or 3 times a week. And it was mostly for the first month there. I just was trying to get in shape, maybe learn a few things here or there. At that point, they sparred a lot. They would spar every practice, like the more either the amateur fighters or the professional fighters getting ready for a fight, and they would spar a little bit at the end of stuff, but they didn't expect anybody. Most of the people there were just there to get in shape or just for a workout. But as I started to learn some things, as I started to get in better shape and things like that, I think after a month of just doing some bag work, doing some drills, at the same time, I was like, I'm gonna start running a lot. I'm gonna start biking a lot, and I got in really, really, really good shape. I was running like 5Ks like once a week, and biking at a certain pace. I forget what it was. It was like 10 or 20 minutes of biking, but at like a certain heart rate. I forget what it was, but it was like pushing myself to the limit type of things. And so at that time, I was running a lot. I was biking a lot. I was working on the boxing skills, and I really, really liked it. It was fun for sure. And so then naturally, I would just start to like spar here and there. After a month. Now, I'm not saying I was good or anything like that, but I was probably better than anybody that just started doing boxing for a month, and not knowing. Like I said, I've watched boxing my whole entire life at that point, pretty much. And so, I know jab, I know how to move. I was also pretty athletic compared to, the average person. So my footwork was great. My stamina was probably better than the next person. I had speed and things like that. So I was just getting by with my athleticism for the most part in the beginning. And I have really long arms. That helped. I had fast hands. That helped. So my experience, my short experience as a boxer was, I'm more athletic, I'm faster, I'm longer. I can probably survive in this area against the average person. And so I'd spar a little bit. I've never been more tired out of all the sports I've ever played. I have never been more tired than when I'd box, I'd spar. There's a few things, if for people that have never gotten to the ring before, there's a few things that you don't realize. Number one is nervous energy, being tight all the time, like shrugging your shoulders the whole time. that drains you like crazy. If you're not relaxed in there, you're just gonna get super tired. And just by moving. I was a fighter that moved a lot too. So I was constantly moving my feet, being quick, using quick feet to try to not get hit and stuff like that. So when someone constantly pressures you and you're constantly moving, you're constantly tight, you just get tired, and that's not even from really just like fighting. Another thing, when someone's pressuring you and they're always in your face, you feel like you have to hit them to try to get them back. So you're exerting so much energy moving from being anxious and from throwing punches that you feel like you have to because someone's within range or getting close to you just to try to keep them off because you're like scared or something like that. And so the biggest thing that I had to learn was to not waste movements, to try to relax, to relax in there. And just because someone's pressuring you, that's the thing that gets you super, super, super tired. So after about, maybe 2 months, maybe shorter, month and a half, I was only sparring for not that, maybe a month or so. And, I was doing all right. I was, sparring with people that had way more experience than me, that had amateur fights. Most of the people were younger than me. And then there was like some low-level pros that are just getting their career started for the most part. And so what was great about this gym was no matter what level you were in, you could spar anybody, and like no one was trying to kill you. So no one was going out there trying to knock someone out. Everybody knew that for the most part it was, just working on something. Someone's just here to learn, and it's not a fight. Now, like if two pros were going at it and they're getting ready for a fight, they'd go at it. But if they knew that, you're better than this person, like there's nothing to prove, then it's just like, all right, we're just trying to, move around, spar a little bit, and if someone got caught with something good, you just back off and just be like, all right, you good, man? Can you continue? You're good, whatever. I have pretty quick reflexes, and like I said, I moved a lot, so I never got hit hard to where I felt dazed or anything. I didn't get hit very much. Just because of my athleticism and the way that I fought. I wasn't like a brawler or anything like that. I used my jab a lot. So ultimately it was like a good experience. But like I said, I've never been so tired because there's no breaks in a fight in boxing. When the bell's ring, when the time's going, there are no breaks. So even when you're tired, you have to throw punches. Even when you're tired, you got to move. You got to move your head. At some point, you'll get so tired that you don't care about getting hit, which is like crazy to even think about. But yeah, many times I got into that situation where it was like, I'm so tired. Like I can't lift my arms. My feet don't move. If I get hit, whatever. But like I just need to breathe. My breath hurts, essentially. And so then after I got a little bit more experience, I started to get a little confidence, and I ended up having an amateur fight, my first one. I had 2 amateur fights overall. Was supposed to have a 3, but the other guy didn't show up. So I had 2 amateur fights. It's really interesting going to amateur fights. There's people of all different ages, all different sizes, all different level of experience. When you go there, it's not like, okay, I'm about to fight this person. A lot of times it's like who shows up at what weight class, and then you fight someone, close. I was about 153 pounds when I was fighting. and I think every single time I fought someone that was heavier. I think my first fight, the dude was like 160, 165, so quite a bit bigger than me, weight wise. But he was like an ex wrestler, short arms, just had that wrestler body type, like no neck, big head, strong, muscular guy, shorter than me, and I was quick, long, and so my mind is really really weird. I never really got nervous. I'm really good at compartmentalizing my thoughts and just kind of throwing things to the back of my head if it's not going to help me. So leading up to those fights, I got this really sense, it's almost like calming, like just extreme focus. I'm here to do business. I'm not freaking out. I'm not super anxious. I get super quiet. I'm not talking. It's just like straightforward, like almost like a robot. It's weird. So going into my first fight, I wasn't very nervous. I was really good at just throwing that to the side. What I remember about the fight is, so in the amateurs, you start off 3 rounds, 1 minute for like rookies. And so that's what we did. It was like 3 rounds, 1 minute each round. The professionals start off 3 minute, 3 rounds, and then it might be 4 rounds, 3 minutes. And then you build up to like championship level where it's 12 rounds, 3 minutes. But for the rookies, it's like me. It was 3 rounds, 1 minute. And it seems like not a long time, but let me tell you, like all the things I mentioned in the beginning, when you are anxious, when you're moving, you're in front of a bunch of people, and fighting with adrenaline going through your body, those 1 minutes, they go by fast, but you're tired still. So in that fight, I think it's on YouTube somewhere, or a portion of it. I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best. Boxer's still learning a crap ton. Landed some shots, landed some combinations. I was a person that wasn't willing to take a punch to land a punch by any means, so I moved a lot. Quicker hands. I threw out the jab a lot. I wasn't a person to put myself in harm's way. So a lot of that is just a lot of jabs and following up with the 2 over the top once in a while. I think in that fight, one of the best 2 good moments that I remember. One was I was using my jab a lot, and he was shorter. Like I said, smaller arms, so I was able to keep him at bay for a while. He, like wrestlers, they like to shoot, right? So what that means is like they try to go for your legs and take you down, which means that they drop their head. So when at one point he kind of got a little desperate, got me against the ropes, my back against the ropes, and that's when. So the whole fight he was trying to like corner me into the ropes and stuff like that, because I moved a lot, and it was hard to hit. And so he got me on the ropes at one point, and like he like dropped his head and tried to get close to me, and I came through with an uppercut, got him really really clean, and he kind of like, and I hit him with the right uppercut and then scooted out to the side, which was like a really nice moment. Hit him, he dropped his head, I hit him, and I got out of the way, and he kind of like stumbled into the ropes a little bit. And then another time he kind of also once again got a little anxious and tried to force something, and I hit him with like 3 or 4 punches in a row. While going backwards, he was trying to come at me, and so he kind of dropped his hands and got a little desperate, and I was going back, and I hit him with a 1-2-1-2 real quick, pretty solid. So it went all 3 rounds. I think I won 3 rounds to nothing in that one. I think more just from my speed and athleticism, my footwork. I was just way faster, way quicker. At the end, I remember, well, in both my fights, it's really weird. I was, 153 pounds, not very muscular guy. Was never seen as a super strong dude, like lifting a bunch of weight. But after the fight, after you get done with a fight with like people, even when you spar, there's like, you understand how much respect you have for the other person of just being able to get into the ring in front of a bunch of people and get in a fight. And I think at the end of fights, like there's so much relief that you got through it. You didn't get knocked out. You didn't, get hurt. There's a part of you that's just like, man, I just did that. I got through it. I'm all right. I survived, right? So at the end of the fight, you give a lot of respect to the people that you spar against or you fight against. So like with him, super nice guy. I don't even know his name, but he was a nice guy. We were both. It was both of our first fights, so that's another thing. When you show up, they don't put you against someone that's like has a bunch of fights for the most part. Try to match up weight, and if you do go against someone that's like way more experienced than you, then it's kind of like a tongue in cheek, like, hey, go easy on them. For the most part, until like obviously, if like the newer guy gets a good shot on you, then you got to get your get back. But for the most part, it's like, all right, I know that I'm way better than him. I'm not here to like hurt anybody. Like da 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 da. So I think there's a great deal of respect. There's also the boxing community is really, really small. There's not that many boxers out there, so everybody kind of knows everybody, which was interesting to me. But after the fight, I said, good job, good fight, all that good stuff. And he told me that I hit hard, and I was like, oh, wow, really? Thanks, man. Like, I guess I never really knocked anybody down, like in my boxing career, or I dazed a couple people, but I was never really going for, I didn't have that killer instinct to like just really try to knock someone out and hurt someone. Me, it was more of a strategy. It was more of the, hit them without getting hit. Like I said, I wasn't really willing to risk taking a shot to give a shot, and power punches like that a lot of times do so. And I was also super new and stuff like that, so I didn't really know how to get off a power shot. A lot of my punches that I threw were ones and twos, which were long range stuff. To throw hooks and things, you need to kind of be close distance. So that was awesome. Got the first win. I got excited. It was cool. The crazy thing about sparring or fighting is that you could fight at, let's say, like 5, 6 p.m., even earlier, but when you go to bed, like the adrenaline stays with you for hours. So I remember sparring at maybe like 5 or 6 p.m. I'm in bed at like 11 midnight, and like I could still feel my heart like beating way too fast. Which is like pretty crazy. So after the fight, you have like this sense of euphoria. You survived. I mean, you happen to get the win. Everything's good. Everything's happy. Like you're just talking your head off, like going crazy. Like your adrenaline's still going through you, and it's a sweet feeling for sure. And then in the second fight, that I had, I actually fought a dude that had a lot more experience than me. I want to say he had over 10 fights. I don't really remember completely, but I'm pretty sure he had over 10 fights. And he was, I'm pretty sure he was bigger than me too. I think they put like he was a certain weight, but I mean, I was 153, and there's no way this dude was he was taller than me, he was thicker than me, but it said that he was like close in weight somehow. I was like, I don't freaking believe that crap. But yeah, so that fight was like interesting. So the guy had way more experience than me. Was a little bit bigger than me, was just as long. So but with that fight, the first round, I think he won. He really didn't. I think it was a back and forth round. He didn't hit me that much. He had a lot of close punches that might have looked like it could have like hit me and pressured me and stuff like that. But for the most part, I didn't get hit except for one time. He caught me. He caught me with one punch that I saw coming, and I was able to get out of the way, and it just looked awkward. There's one thing that I used to do too, and I recognized it in the fight after he did it. Is like in the Philly shell. So the Philly shell is like you have, if you're orthodox, you have your hand right here protecting your chin, and then you have your arm instead of next to your chin as well. You kind of put it on your belt line, and so you have one arm up, one arm not, and the way that you protect yourself is through shoulder rolls. So instead of using your arm to protect your face, you kind of like shoulder roll. And when you're like this, it looks like you're open for a punch right here. So the thing is that he did this. It wasn't he would do it once in a while, and so the first time I saw it, I was stupid. I've done it before to people, and so I kind of shot him with the right, and he like leaned back out of range and then came back with his own. And right when I was quick enough, I swear my reflexes are crazy, but I threw it. I was out of position, and another right was coming here. He hit me, but at the same time, I was like jumping back like the Matrix kind of to get out of the way. And so it looked like I stumbled a little bit from a punch. He did land, but it wasn't that hard. And so it might look like I stumbled a little bit. So that's why I gave the first round to him. I think that's what the scorecard said. But after that, like I said, I was running so much, and I was biking so much, and I was in way better shape than him. And so after that, after I put that into my equation, that move, I kept on sticking the jab, hitting them pretty solidly, and then I would feint. So a feint is like a fake. You're faking going in. It's called a feint. And so when I would see him go into that Philly shell again, I would feint, and then he would like think I'm coming in and try to throw that thing, and I would be able to get out of the way or whatever it may be. So in that fight, that's the one thing you're like, as a rookie fighter, you're so worried about hitting the person that you forget to like do these things like feint and like your footwork and moving. You're just like, I just got to hit this guy. So that fight, I learned more about feinting and like trying to draw him out and stuff like that, and using my eyes to feint with my eyes, meaning you look at the body and you go to start throwing a punch and they think it's going to the body, but it actually goes to the head. And I caught him really, really well. I think I threw a jab or something to the body just to try to just to put that in his mind that, I'm going to your body or whatever. And then so I in the second round, I think it was, I jabbed to the body like earlier in the round or something like that. And so I dropped my eyes down and I actually dipped. So I looked down, I dipped, which made him drop his arms, and then I came back up to the top and hit him. And I just remember when I hit him, his eyes got like real big. Like, oh, I did not expect that. And I just got a clean shot. I did not expect that. And so that was like the defining moment of the second round. I was back and forth, but and then in the third round, my stamina was like I was in way better shape. I was the better athlete, footwork, speed-wise, as normal, and my stamina was just like way better. And so going into the second round, I remember after the in between one of the rounds, my coach was talking, and I was like, I knew it was a close fight, but I was just like, dude, this guy's not hitting me. Like, it might look like he's hitting me, but he's not hitting me. Like, all these are just like really close. Like, it looks like he's doing something, but he's not. He's not hitting me. And so I was a little worried. So after that first round, I felt like I lost. So I was like, I can't lose it. I'm not gonna lose this. So I really pressed the pressure, and I felt like I won the second round. So it came down to the third round. So I was like, okay, I gotta go. I gotta win this last round. So like I said, my stamina was like way better. He was tired. I wasn't, and I was just really putting on the pressure on him. I was hitting him with the jab a lot, so his nose was bleeding, and like there's like blood on my boxing shoes and stuff like that. I remember that, and so I pretty much just won that last round just by being in better shape and more fresh. I was hitting him with the jab and things like that, and it went to a decision, and I won the decision. I think it was 2-1. Like I said, and actually in that fight though, I hurt my wrist. I think I hit him like awkwardly. If you don't hit him flush or with like good structure in your wrist, if it's bent a little bit and you hit him, you can like hurt your wrist. So I kind of hurt my wrist in that fight. You don't really feel it that much when you're in a fight because the adrenaline and like you're in a fight. So I remember after the fight, my wrist started to hurt, my forearm, my wrist on the way back, and I was talking to my coach, and he was saying how he thinks that I might be able to win the go to the Golden Gloves tournament and fight at 143 or something like that, 142, 43. It was 40 something, low 40s, 41, 42, 43, something like that. And I was 153, so like I could have done it, but that's pretty light. I feel like for me, and I was like hurt. I didn't get into it to get serious. Really, I got into it to learn boxing. I knew that okay, maybe I'll have 2-3 fights and I'm out. Like I like my brain. I'm not gonna go pro. I'm not gonna have like an illustrious amateur career. I was just passionate about the sport and wanted to see what it was like. And anything, I think I said in the first episode, anything that I'm passionate about or I just really like, I want to do it myself. I think that I can do it myself. I want to get a taste of it. So whether that's music, whether that's podcasting, boxing, football, basketball, like anything that I'm really, really passionate about or I have a big interest in, I want to try myself. So and I was getting the itch to compete. I wasn't competing in anything. Super competitive person. I love the discipline of it all, and I was like, let's try to get in shape and let's compete and let's compete at something where it matters. And so after that fight, my wrist, I took some time off because of the wrist, just a rest. I went back, but then shortly after that, I decided to go back to Michigan. So that was kind of the end of it. I never fought again. After that, I think I sparred a few light rounds, like in Michigan at a gym at one point, but nothing serious outside of that. And so yeah, I've been super, super passionate about fighting, boxing, all that good stuff for a long time. And so I wanted to talk about the Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul fight. And a reason why I wanted to go into my background about boxing is because of a lot of things that are, need to be discussed about Jake Paul is the things that I talked about that I had to learn and what people don't realize unless you go into that ring. Both fighters had a good showing, I felt. They didn't look, wild. Like when you watch these YouTuber fights or like these celebrity fights, like they're so messy, they're so crappy. Kind of like my first fights in the amateurs, just like my first ever fight. Like they're not clean, they're not, there's that anxiety. People are winging punches. People look like ugly, and their movements look like crap, and things like that. So I thought that both guys and Jake Paul has gotten so much better since his first fight. But Tommy Fury was definitely the more skilled fighter, hands down. In the first round, he felt Jake landed one overhand right, felt his power right on the cheekbone, and it didn't phase him at all. So he was able to take the power of Jake Paul, which was the question, right? And so it was a split decision, which means that Jake Paul won on one scorecard and Tommy Fury won on the other two scorecards. There was 2 rounds where points got deducted for like a headbutt and for clinching. Jake Paul ended up scoring a flash knockdown of Fury in the 8th round. I think it was more of a timing thing. It was a jab. It was a solid punch, but wasn't something that really I felt would hurt him. It was more like he was coming forward. He got hit with a stiff punch, knocked off balance, and his glove touched the ground, which means that it was a knockdown. So it wasn't anything knockdown where he was like wobbly or hurt or anything like that. I think it was just more of just like, oh crap, I got knocked off balance, which I thought was going to make it the final scorecards could have went either way because of that knockdown. And it could have been a draw, easy. I could have saw that happening, but I did feel like throughout the whole entire fight, Tommy Fury was definitely the more polished, experienced fighter. You could see early on that Jake's strategy was to get Tommy Fury mad and out of pocket to try to have him rush in and get caught coming in. And that was Jake Paul's strategy. He wanted to catch him coming in, and he did a few times. He was waiting to pressure Tommy, and then when Tommy came forward, he would try to catch him with like a overhand right or a left. That was the game plan. And like I said, he did land a few, but he didn't hit him. His power didn't affect him like the other people. You know, when you knock a bunch of people out, especially in a few of the fights that he's had, you know, it's hard to not believe in your, hey, I got this detonator and it's done. If I land one, it's done. But when you start fighting, you know, boxers, they get people that spar a lot, that fought a lot, especially in boxing, you know, they get used to the power just by getting hit in the head a lot, you know, through sparring and things like that. So his power didn't seem to really affect Tommy Fury that much. He had a really hard time closing the distance, Jake Paul did. And that was the key to the fight from the beginning for me was, can Jake Paul get inside of Tommy Fury's jab? And how you do that is not by force. You do that with footwork. You do that with skill. You do that with timing. And in the first 2 rounds, he had a lot of issues closing the distance. He was getting hit with the jab early on. To the side of his face started to get red just from Tommy Fury's jab. Was hitting him clean with the jab. You could tell he was having, right before he was about to go and, you know, throw a punch or something, he would get hit with the jab and kind of have to reset. And then same thing over and over and over again. So the first 2 rounds, he was getting hit with the jab. He was getting a little frustrated. And that was pretty much the key to the whole entire fight, was Tommy Fury did not play into the games of like the hype, the talking the crap, you know, acting emotional. He didn't jump in without, you know, thinking about it first. When I talk about Tommy Fury, he didn't put himself in, you know, harm's way for the most part. He stepped to the game plan. He was moving on the outside. He was jabbing. landed a couple punches, but was messing with Jake Paul's rhythm, and Jake Paul had a hard time getting past that jab to get close enough. And I thought that's what was interesting to me was Jake Paul gonna have the footwork, the knowledge, and the skill to get past the jab, and he didn't. He didn't tonight. And in fact, late in that round, he kind of just started jumping in, like just bum rushing him, because he probably felt he was down on the scorecards, which I thought he was. He did have some really good rounds. Not saying that it was a wash or anything. Like I said, it could have went either way for me. But there was times when you're looking at the skill of the boxer, there was times where he was like rushing in, kind of like a wrestler would. He would lower his head and just try to boom, 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 just try to throw punches as he's running forward, kind of like UFC fighters do. And a few times and you don't do that as a boxer because you don't lean forward and try to go get someone where like your chin is above your toes. You always have balance. You're always centered. You're, if anything, leaning back, and you move forward with your feet a lot of times. So he didn't bring his feet first to keep him in balance. So when he'd bum rush, miss, and then Fury would just move to the side, he was caught a few times of being out of position, out of balance, and Tommy Fury didn't do that. And that's like one of the things that more experienced boxers know. It's getting hit without hitting someone without getting hit is the name of boxing. And to be able to do that, you always have to be in balance and always be in a position to hit back, even when you miss with your footwork. So he was having trouble cutting off the ring, which means stopping Tommy Fury from circling him. Tommy Fury was like around the ropes for the most part, back to the ropes, moving. And Jake Paul was having a hard time stopping him from moving, and also had a hard time getting past the jab. And then he would kind of, later on in the fight, get a little bit desperate and just kind of bum rush him and just try to jump in. And he was getting out of position and getting caught a little bit. If Tommy Fury was better, he probably could have hit him with some really, really good shots in those moments, and he didn't really take full advantage of them. But he did enough to win the fight. Another thing is when you bum rush like that, you start throwing a little wild, and I felt like Tommy Fury had the more crisp, short punches, tight punches. He wasn't really wasting movements he wasn't getting tired. Jake Paul definitely looked a lot more tired because he was wasting so much movement by doing these wild punches, these big movements, where boxers, it's, 4 inches to the left. Move your head 4 inches to the left. So you're in that position to hit back. You're still in balance, and you're not, if you just like jump out of the way, like 12 feet 12 feet one way, like you're not going to be in a good balance to throw a powerful punch back. So Tommy Fury was definitely the more skilled fighter because of that ability to just move a little bit, effective movements. His punches were crisper, more efficient. He was definitely a more efficient mover. Had a good game plan, was experienced, didn't get the motions best of him and just bum rush in there like Jake Paul was doing. And so Jake Paul, like I said, when it comes to sparring, anybody that gets into the ring has my respect. Because I've been in there at a very low level, but I've been in there, and it's not easy. It's scary to a lot of people. What's more scary than possibly getting hurt, especially in a fight? So I thought they both looked good ultimately at the level that they're at. They didn't look out of place. Tommy Fury definitely looked like the more skilled boxer. There was a rematch clause in the contract, so there'll probably be a rematch. I see it going. It's probably, I don't know if Jake Paul can beat Tommy Fury just because of the things that I mentioned about the cleaner, fighter. But the guy works hard. he's gotten so much better in like 5-6 fights. You know, he's a legit boxer in my opinion. Maybe he goes back to the drawing board and gets just way better. He's still so new to the game that there's so much growth that can happen, and it is possible. But he has to work on being a little bit more efficient. I'm sure they're going to work on more about ways to get past that jab. Maybe work on some footwork things and work on some counters. He kind of is. Jake Paul's a little bit flat-footed, not really quick feet or anything like that. So maybe he can go back to the drawing board and do some things. And I mean, every single time I watch a fight, it's entertaining to me. So I'm gonna keep tuning into it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy all the fights. But I thought the decision was fair. And it's tough to watch as like for some people that don't watch boxing. I feel like a lot of people that are not calling, have a lot of opinions on boxing, don't really watch boxing that much. It's like boring and there's all these things, but man, there's just so much that goes in a fight that people don't realize, that don't see. Like one thing that Jake can do is probably go to the body a little bit more. He in the fight against Woodley, he went to the body, and that ultimately set up the power punch that knocked him out. To stop movement, probably has to get to the body a little bit, make it an ugly boxing match. Once he gets inside, it was like every single time, they got close to each other, they were like, tying up so the ref could come in and separate them. For Jake to win that fight, I think he has to get on. Once he does get on, slip the jab, get inside, and then go to the body early. If you go to the body early, maybe it gets Tommy tired, make it an ugly fight. Get him out of his comfort zone, slow down the feet. That was another thing that, like I said, the Tommy Fury's movement, he was having a hard time stopping him from moving, cutting off the ring. So if he gets him tired, there's going to be more opportunities to hit him and things like that. But ultimately, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it. And I look forward to the next one. But yeah, so I'm a huge boxing fan, a big fight fan. For all those people that don't know about my experience and things like that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Nick versus Everyone. And thanks for joining. I think the podcast has been going for about 2 weeks now. I think this is 2 months now. This is the 2-month mark. I've had a blast talking to people. I've had a blast trying something new. Trying to get better. I was actually a little nervous about doing this podcast by myself because it's awkward almost, and have no experience of just turning on a camera and talking for a while about it. I thought this was going to be like 30 minutes, but I hope it was entertaining enough for you guys to stick around. But on to the next episode. This one might come out earlier than Tuesdays. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for joining another episode of Nick versus Everyone. Till next time. Peace.